because you can see burnout, but what you don't see are the hidden effects of it: turnover, engagement, retention, productivity, as you were saying earlier, innovation, and decision-making abilities. There's also leadership ineffectiveness. If all of these things play into and cause burnout, and burnout is just the tip of the iceberg. And what I like to say is that you cannot solve overload by adding more load. And oftentimes, organizations want to increase training, which is great. But if you have too much training, then you're overloading your staff. More initiatives, more communication, more meetings, and more higher expectations. And all of this builds up. And as you can see on this graphic, the teeter-totter just can't get balanced. It's just such a heavy load. And so it's important for leaders to remember that adding more things isn't the answer to solving the problem of being overloaded and weighted down. Burnout is often a capacity problem. And here we are looking again at this teeter-totter, and we have this much capacity. But if our demand is just weighing us down, there's no way we can get equal on that teeter-totter. And when we have too much demand, our capacity is drained, just like our cell phone batteries. And when that happens, performance suffers. And I don't need to tell you in the audience that anything about this $1.9 trillion loss due to disengaged employees, but that's what happens. The bottom line is completely affected. And not only that, the customer experience is impacted as well. I want everyone to remember here too that people are not being lazy or unmotivated or resistant or checked out. They've just depleted their available capacity to perform and to be effective. And so this is a very important element of burnout. We cannot fully compensate when we're depleted. It has cognitive, emotional, physical, and relational effects where all of these things decrease. The impact on your business, your energy and your ability to recover suffers. Your collaboration becomes more difficult. Simple decisions become extremely difficult. We're torn to go, do we do this? Do we do this? We're just not able to cognitively perform at our best because we are overloaded. And the key to sustaining capacity is to protect your performance. When that teeter-totter is in balance, then we have optimal performance. But if we have depleted capacity and we're pushing and pushing and pushing harder, the depleted capacity is going to win every time. So it's very important that we allow the staff and the workplace culture to recognize when capacity is depleted and when we need to lighten someone's load. And I learned this the hard way. You cannot outperform exhaustion. We have to learn how to rebuild capacity. 9 years ago, I had a traumatic brain injury. Actually had 2 consecutive brain injuries, 2 to 3 weeks apart. And when you have a brain injury and you have a repeated brain injury before that brain injury has had time to heal, it exacerbates the problem. And for me, I had to learn how to walk, talk, process, reconnect my neural pathways. And so I have had to learn and relearn what capacity means because you cannot push through. These are the things that I learned, that effort alone is not enough when capacity is depleted. Recovery requires recognizing your limits, rebuilding your resources, and then adapting as you move forward. Resilience is not pretending you are fine. It's learning how to recover and to continue in this new way of learning. I am an expert in capacity and learning how to take a step back and take a pause so that the brain can rest and have the cognitive break it needs. The Control-Alt-Delete became an example that I would use to people when I would explain why my brain was functioning the way it was. And as we all know, that Control-Alt-Delete on a computer keyboard, it restarts the process. And we reboot our brain when we take breaks. And that is a way that we can rebuild capacity. That's one way we can do that. Resilience is not just about being tough. Resilience is the ability to recover, adapt, and to continue moving forward. It's not positive thinking. It's not toughing it out or ignoring stress or working harder. Now I present to you the Resilience Reset framework. And I've adapted this for corporations. And the 5 steps are recognize, reframe, reset, rebuild. The first one, a lot of this, awareness is the key. We have to identify where the capacity drain is, what's leaking, and what's causing this capacity drain to show up and to expand and compound. The second R is reframe. We need to be able to teach people and our staff, our workplace culture to shift decisions patterns under pressure so that they can pivot quickly without trauma or stress or wasting time and resources and energy. The faster we could reframe something, the less cognitive load it has on our brain. And third, reset, learning how to regulate before a negative reaction or adverse reaction comes. Sometimes we do this subconsciously. So if we learn to regulate our emotions, then we can quickly adapt. And that leads us into the ability to rebuild. And we need to learn these sustainable performance habits so that we can take the recognition, the reframing, and the reset and actually learn and rebuild these performance habits so that we can pivot and adapt when our load gets heavy. And then when all 4 of these things are combined, then it allows us to rise and to produce consistent execution without burning out. This is the foundation of what I teach in my workshops. Today, I'm going to give you a capacity audit. This is a tool you can use today. And so right now, I want you to think about what is draining your capacity. Is it workload, relationships, health, change, caregiving, uncertainty, lack of clarity, emotional labor? Keep in mind that do not try to fix everything and try not to fix it all at once. Start with the first drain that gives your capacity back the fastest. Now, here's what leaders can do differently because as we've talked about, the title of this presentation is what nobody is doing about burnout or why they can't solve it, right? Why people can't solve the burnout problem. This is what leaders can do differently. So instead of asking, how do I get more from my people? Start thinking in a different way and ask, what is consuming their capacity? Find out what their load is and make a safe environment so that they feel safe. When somebody, a manager or a supervisor asks them, hey, what's on your plate? How is your load? That they can actually respond without any fear of retaliation or retribution. So these are the things leaders can do. You can remove friction by enabling that and fostering that transparent culture where it's safe to be truthful with the answer instead of giving the answer to the question that the manager wants to hear. Very important here to clarify priorities, reduce unnecessary complexity. Just because you think something needs to be done one way or your manager thinks it needs to be done one way, just like a math problem, let the student or let the employee figure out and create a system that works best for that person because we all don't function the same way. We don't all operate the same way. And there are many more ways to achieve something than just one way. So reduce that unnecessary complexity. If it's the way you want somebody to do something isn't working for them, give them the freedom and the flexibility to do it in a way that makes sense and is simpler for them to perform. And it's very, very important here to model recovery, just like parenting a child. It's not always what we say, it's what we do and how we do it. Again, build psychological safety. There needs to be a culture within the organization that allows people to safely say something has to give. I would love to do this, but my capacity is full right now. My performance is declining. My cognitive ability to create effective, bright solutions is impaired without people thinking they're not cutting the slack. So that's a very, very important aspect to what leaders can do differently. The last thing I want you to think about is noticing these early signs of depletion. Start picking up on behavior, body language, deadlines, performance, attitude. There are a lot of different signs that a person will show either verbally or non-verbally or in their quality of their work and meeting their deadlines. Enthusiasm is also one of the things that you can look for. These are just some of the signs that you can see where there's early sign of depletion. Like I alluded earlier, the business impact is huge with burnout. When capacity improves, performance becomes more sustainable. And when performance is more sustainable, capacity increases, engagement improves, decision quality improves, burnout decreases, and performance stabilizes. These are very important business impacts. This is why burnout is so essential to addressing within your organization and addressing it differently. If this has resonated and you think a conversation like this would be beneficial for your culture, your team, your employees, your managers, there are three different ways that we can continue. We can do a private lunch and learn, which is similar to this in a 45-minute introductory session. We can do my signature corporate workshop, which is 60 to 90 minutes, and it's very interactive. And then also there's the manager application session where I provide practical training for leaders to manage burnout risk. And all of these things combined strengthen resilience, improve engagement, and support sustainable performance. These are the keys. These are what we can do differently to tackle this massive burnout problem. You can reach out to me directly through email, through my LinkedIn. Until next time, be real, be resilient, reclaim your life, and reclaim your profits. Ciao, everyone.